Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Keller Wortham, and today I'm going to start talking about a topic that's very dear to my heart. As a physician, I see a lot of people with weight and weight-related issues. And it's a topic that is so prevalent in society today that I've chosen to dedicate 4 videos to this particular topic, and we're going to start right now. And before anybody starts turning off their video, I just want to say we are doing this from a medical standpoint, no judgment, no guilt. I just want to have a conversation with you guys about the issues surrounding weight, the diseases that can be related to it, and for those of you who may be struggling with it out there, just some strategies that you can implement very easily that can start to maybe turn your life and your lifestyle around. So first thing I like to say is you are not alone if you are suffering from weight or overweight or obesity. Approximately 1 in 3 adults in our country, or 1 in 5 children, are diagnosed as obese. It affects over 40% of the US population, and I think the numbers are like 93 million people in our country alone that are suffering from obesity. So to start off, when I'm talking about this with a patient in my office, as we know, weight is a very sensitive topic. There's a lot of shame around it. There's a lot of guilt around it. So initially, I'll just first ask permission to talk with someone about their weight issues. So you guys are watching this video. I'm assuming I have kind of a tacit permission to discuss it with you. So what I'll typically do is, how do you feel about your weight? How do you feel about your body? And do you notice anything in your health that you think might be related to your weight or your weight gain? And oftentimes people will get embarrassed, sometimes they laugh about it, sometimes they cry about it. And then we really get down to the task of strategizing to figure out how we can handle this very sensitive but very important topic and get this person pointed on the right track. So first of all, definition of overweight or obesity. There are a lot of ways to define these terms, but typically we're using something called the BMI. That's a body mass index. Maybe you've heard that term before. And typically a body mass index is something that you calculate by using an equation that uses your weight and your height. So it's a comparison of basically how tall you are and how much you weigh. The equation is very easy to find online. If you want to check out your BMI, there's calculators for your iPhone or smartphone. There's apps online that you can look at. But standard definitions say that if your BMI is over 25, you're considered overweight. And if your BMI is over 30, then you're considered obese. And again, obesity is a term that has a lot of weight to it. No pun there, but it is a medical term, so we're using it in a medical fashion today. So there are other ways to calculate how your weight is affecting your health. There's percent body fat. There are other ways to calculate it using like a DEXA scan or electrical impedance, but one of the easiest ways is BMI figure. So you might take a moment now if you just want to kind of get a sense, find an app on your phone, find something online and say, what is my weight? What is my height? And it will figure out the BMI for you. Obviously, there are some things that can affect this ratio. If you're a very muscular person, if you have big bones, that can sway the equation one way or another. But we're just talking about a general sense here of what what BMI category you might fall into. So beyond that, I want to talk about the fact that overweight and obesity, more than anything, is a modern problem for our modern lifestyle. So there weren't nearly as many obese people even several decades ago. And the issue has been this coming together of a lot of different factors. The first one is definitely diet. What we eat, especially in this country, has a large effect on our metabolism and our bodies and our weight. The main issue, and I'm going to talk about a lot about this in the series that we're going to do, the main issue is processed food. So you may have an idea of what processed food is. If you need a visual, I can show you something like one of my childhood favorites here, Oreos. You may also be aware of processed drinks like Coca-Cola or so many other sodas out there. Basically, processed food means that we've gotten some kind of naturally occurring substance and then pulverized it, manufactured it, changed it, and so that the ways it is existing now is much different than it would have existed in nature. It's lacking its fiber, it's lacking a lot of the vitamins that it might have in there, and then it is chock full of added fats and added sugars and all these other chemicals that you don't find in nature. The second part that has come together to create this problem is our sedentary lifestyles. So it used to be back in the day, you know, if you were going to go find some food, you had to hunt for it, you had to gather up your berries, you maybe had to build the hut that you were living in. I mean, you know, in the caveman age, we were expending a lot of energy. Now, you know, we sit at a desk all day, you know, we drive to work, we're like maybe a couple hours in a car, especially in LA where I live. It's very common to spend like half your day sitting and doing basically nothing from an energy standpoint. So that's another issue that has led to this problem with obesity and overweight. Then there's some other factors, you know, stress, the stress of our modern lifestyles that can pump up your cortisol and actually lead to weight gain. Sleep, we all are just like sleep deprived. A lot of us are sleep deprived. So, and as you lose sleep, this can have also a profound effect on some of the hormones in your body and just your overall lifestyle. I'm going to talk a lot more about sleep and about stress in some of the subsequent videos, but we'll just, you know, kind of put a pin in those for right now. There's some other things that are affecting the obesity and the overweight epidemic, and those are just the other things in our food sources that we might not even think about. The hormones that they're using on a lot of the animals that they're cultivating and that they're farming, the antibiotics that we use on those same animals, the pesticides, the herbicides, all of these chemicals that are going into our food that are fundamentally changing the nature of what we eat. So that's a lot to start, but I'm gonna basically kind of talk to a little bit about obesity and why it's important to know about it. This is not a vanity issue. You know, we're not talking about, you know, someone's look or their physical habitus. We're talking about the health implications. And, you know, honestly, if having a larger body weren't an issue from a health standpoint, I wouldn't be making an issue about it, and probably a lot of people wouldn't. What happens is, as you gain weight and you get into these categories of overweight and then into obese, you start to have potential health problems. And you guys might be familiar with a lot of them, but, you know, I'm going to go through a rundown. You know, first one is heart disease. And heart disease is a combination of things like blood pressure going up, cholesterol going up. These things put a lot of stress on our cardiovascular system. And you can think of the cardiovascular system as just kind of like a pump and pipes. And as you put more pressure into that system with blood pressure, and as you put more kind of cholesterol corrosion into the system, you're basically like taking your plumbing and you're adding rust to it and you're increasing the pressure, and, you know, you end up with a blowout, which, you know, is a stroke or a heart attack. Another big one, which you guys probably know about, is diabetes. We're going to talk a lot about diabetes later on in the series, but, you know, basically that is where your blood sugars start going up. You start to get a lot of health problems from that. Again, we'll address them. Just wanted to mention that. And there's some other things that you might not be familiar with. Asthma goes up as you get overweight. Arthritis, due to other inflammatory things, goes up as you get overweight. There are skin issues that can come up, more inflammatory skin issues. Something called acanthosis nigricans, which is a crazy word, but you may have noticed it if you are overweight, and there are areas of your skin that just always seem to be like a little bit darker, or you think it's dirt and you're trying to scrub it off and, you know, it doesn't really come off. That's actually a skin condition associated with being overweight. What else am I forgetting? Sleep apnea. And we'll have a whole other video on sleep apnea, but that's something else, a risk of actually losing the ability to get oxygen in your system while you sleep, and that's related to weight gain as well. Just to kind of focus in here, giving you a lot of information, but the most important things, especially when you're going to talk with your physician, are to know your BMI, know your body mass index. Hopefully you guys looked it up and are seeing kind of, you know, where yours falls, so that you can talk about it, you know, openly with your physician. If you have concerns about your weight, if you have concerns about some of the conditions you may be feeling, then knowing that number will be a good starting point. And you can bring it up. He's like, hey, sometimes doctors, even we get a little bit shy about bringing up people's weight. We shouldn't. It's something that I really strive to do with all my patients. But you can bring it up. Yeah, I noticed my BMI is a little bit up. I've had trouble losing weight, or I'm gaining weight. I'm starting to feel some things. You can start a dialogue with them. It's your bodies. It's your health. You can really take charge there, take the reins, and plunge into that conversation with your physician. Another strategy, we're going to get into a lot of it, is as you start shopping for yourself, if you're the person who shops for your family, or if you're making your eating choices because you're on the road, just try to stay away from processed food as much as you can. This means if you're in your typical supermarket, it's the aisles around the perimeter. We're talking about the produce section, maybe the dairy section and egg section in the back, the meat section. I've got some great examples of just typical produce. We've got some delicious spinach here. I'm going to talk more about that. We've got berries. We've got, can you see those? Yeah, delicious. I'm hungry already. Grapes. And then all the things that are around the perimeter of the supermarket. When you get into those aisles in the middle where you've got all the cereals and the cookies and the canned foods and the frozen foods, then you're getting things that have been a lot more processed. A lot of the issues that we talked about before, and we will talk about further on, they've added a lot of sugars, they've added fats, they've added salts, they've taken away the fiber, and they're creating what you could think of as kind of a more toxic nutrition for you. Something else when we're talking about just weight management, the importance of sleep. So and again, I'm going to talk about this more later, but if you are not getting enough sleep, it's going to be very challenging for you to lose weight. And there's some of you out there, you've got night shifts and you've got kids, and it's like this guy here, he's sitting me telling me I need more sleep. I can't. Well, I can just tell you it is so important that do whatever you can with your family, with your employer, to figure out how you can maximize your sleep. Again, we'll talk more about it, but the standard is between 7 and 9 hours, which this day and age seems like a luxury, but it's very, very important. There are two specific hormones that change, especially when you're sleep deprived, and they are ghrelin and leptin. I'll go into more of them, but basically they are hormones that are responsible for shutting off your appetite when you've had enough to eat, and also telling you that you're full. And if they get out of whack, you're getting the wrong signals to your brain, and you're basically going to be eating when you don't need to, and you're going to be eating more of what you don't need. And then the last thing is stress relief. Stress is tough. We live in a stressful world, that things are coming at us from all sides. And stress was an important thing for our ancient ancestors, because it was usually meant like a tiger was about to eat you, or a storm was coming in and you needed to take shelter, or sometimes just nutritional stress, you didn't have enough calories. But now we tend to get stressed about things that are often not existential crises. They're not life-threatening, but yet they can have a really profound effect on our health. So whatever you can do to relax, that can be meditation for some people. It definitely can mean exercise, and exercise is also a very important component of weight loss. So exercise increases endorphins, it burns calories, it reduces cortisol levels. Cortisol is our main stress hormone, and when cortisol goes up, it leads to weight gain, it leads to a destruction of a lot of the tissues in our bodies, weakening of ligaments and tendons and skin, increased insulin levels, which cause weight gain. So there's a lot of health problems tied into high cortisol. So if you can get those levels down by getting proper sleep and by finding ways to relax, again, it could be exercise, it could be meditation, it could be music. For me, it's about hiking, going out in the mountains, getting up there, seeing like nature. Nature, incidentally, is great for stress relief. So if you haven't hugged a tree lately, and I'm not even kidding, you need to do it. You put your arms around a tree, and there's something symbiotic that happens between your body and nature that really reduces cortisol levels. In fact, I think they did a study recently that actually showed that people who live in more forested areas, areas with more trees, have inherently less stress. So all you New Yorkers watching this right now, get yourself to Central Park and try to avoid looking at any of the buildings around you. Or in LA, we've got a lot of traffic, a lot of concrete, but you can get up into the mountains and, in 20 minutes and be in nature. It's very, very important. Yeah. What else are we going at? So, and other things that can be stress relieving. I like to surf. I love listening to music. Maybe those help relieve stress for you too. And then, as you start to put all these things together, the proper nutrition, the good sleep, the exercise, the stress relief, you can start to kind of turn the tide on your metabolism, on your lifestyle. And I know these feel like, really major changes, and it can be really overwhelming. And so, oftentimes what I'll say to a patient when they come in and they're like, I've been trying to lose weight for years and I just can't, and it's too much for me, it's too overwhelming, and I'll just sit them down and be like, I got it, we can strategize this together, we're gonna go through it step by step. And if all the stuff I've been talking about already feels too overwhelming, I'll just give them like 3 simple tasks. I'll say, okay, we're gonna keep it real easy. Number 1, I want you to stop drinking any sugary drinks. Okay, I'm not talking about the other stuff, but just any sugary drinks. No sodas, none of our Cokes, no sports drinks, no chocolate mocha caramel lattes from Starbucks or somewhere else. Just stick to water and tea and coffee if you don't have issues with caffeine, and some limited dairy product. Do that. That's one thing. Okay. Number 2. Have a glass of water before every meal. It's really simple, but just a big glass of water. And I feel, I don't like water. I was like, okay, well, try. And if you really don't like water, then get LaCroix or some, here's another Kirkland sparkling lime if you're going to Costco. Those are good because they don't have added calories. They don't have added artificial sweeteners. It's just basically carbonated water and some flavoring. And then the third thing is make one of your meals every day a salad with a protein on it. Okay, so I'm not trying to change everything. Maybe you're hitting McDonald's the other part. We'll deal with that later. But get something like spinach. Okay, get protein that can be nuts, that can be lean cheeses, that can certainly be any of your meats. You've got everything from turkey, from chicken, from shrimp, from tuna. And then a nice salad dressing. My favorite and my top recommended is just an organic oil. That could be, we've got some olive oil here. There's some delicious avocado oil. These are healthy fats. You don't want to go for the ranch. You don't want to go for the blue cheese. But these with some vinegar, be that balsamic vinegar or lemon juice, and you've got yourself a nice salad, and you've got yourself a nice dressing on it. And if you do that, again, avoid the sugary drinks, drink a glass of water a day before each meal, and make one of those meals in your day a salad, you'll start to have some movement, and it's baby steps, and we'll take care of the rest of it next time you come in. So, got some sirens, somebody's had too much processed carbs out there. Anyway, so I think that's enough for our first video. Just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. There's a lot of subject matter here. I know it's a sensitive topic. We're going to dive into some of these other conditions related to being overweight, related to being obese in some of the subsequent videos. And so we'll get some more info for you. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to write some comments. We can answer them. Some of you might have specific comments about, where you're having issues with weight loss, or some comments about some of the things that I said. By all means, I invite those, and we'll address them next time. All right? Thanks again. I'm Dr. Keller Wortham, and thanks for tuning in.